Hello and welcome to Health Dialogue Show. I'm Dr. Bhumika and the topic for today's discussion is Guillain-Barré syndrome. In recent years, there has been a notable surge in cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare but serious autoimmune disorder where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks the peripheral nervous system. Very recently, Pune recorded over 110 cases of GBS. This condition can develop rapidly, often leading to severe symptoms including muscle weakness and even paralysis. Understanding the causes, symptoms, diagnosis, and potential treatments for GBS is crucial, especially since awareness can lead to earlier detection and improved outcomes. Today, we have the opportunity to speak with an expert, Dr. Prachi Sate, to shed light on this condition and discuss why it's essential to be informed. Dr. Prachi Sate is Director of the ICU and Critical Care Medicine at Ruby Hall Clinic, Pune, Maharashtra. She underwent training in UK at Birmingham and Sheffield in the aid of critical care medicine on a scholarship by Royal College of Physicians, Edinburgh for overseas students. She's a founder member of Intensive Care Society of India. She's a recognized teacher for fellowships and diploma in critical care medicine. She has participated in several international clinical trials and research initiatives and delivered several talks at national and international conferences and workshops. I welcome you to the show, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Very nice meeting you, Bhumika. And hello to all your audience, because this is something very important topic that you have chosen. We are going to talk about.
Right, ma'am.
TB
So my
syndrome.
first question, yes, ma'am. So my first question to you is, can you please begin by explaining what Guillain-Barré syndrome is and how it affects the body?
The name is so odd. It is actually a French name, French scientist name who found it out, who described it in the first place. But basically, what it means is a severe polyneuropathy. So, neuropathy, the nerves, peripheral nerves of our body are very important for even the simplest movement of the muscles and of the body. So, the nerves are carrying the signal. So, when these nerves lose their function, the body will become limp. The muscles will not get the signal to contract, and that is called as peripheral neuropathy. Now, why is this occurring in this particular syndrome? It is typically called as post-infectious neuropathy. So there is some kind of infection that is occurring in the body. For example, the current cluster which has been found in Pune of about 100 plus cases is in a particular geographical area, and people developed gastrointestinal infections through contaminated water or food in that area. Now, these bacteria, one of them are known as Campylobacter jejuni. Any infection comes to our body, into our body, the body reacts by generating antibodies towards them, or the immune system gets activated. So these antibodies are very specific to act against the attacking bacteria or viruses. So if these antibodies have got some cross reactivity towards some of our tissues in the body, they will attack our own tissues, and that is what is called as autoimmune reaction. Now, the normal autoimmune disorders in the large number of public, they are different, and this particular one is limited to one post-operative complication. So in this, the people will develop some kind of acute illness, fever, gastroenteritis, loose motions, diarrhea, and maybe after a week, 10 days, or maybe even 2 weeks, they will start developing weakness. They will start feeling weakness in their limbs. So inability to walk or drag the foot, or a particular patient had come to me with inability to put the gears of a scooter. So your hands are not working. So as long as it is only peripherally, then it's all right. But if starts ascending, it is called as ascending paralysis. So gradually the nerves and muscles start getting upwards towards even the respiratory muscles, sometimes even the swallowing muscles, or even the eyes in rare cases. So patients typically will present to medical fraternity with increase in weakness of the limbs or peripheral nervous system or the muscles. This is what is the typical sign of GB syndrome. In this, it is not only the motor, sometimes there can be sensory loss also on the peripheries of the person. So it depends on what type of nerves are getting affected, either motor or sensory. I think this gives a clear idea about how it is picked up or suspected.
Right, ma'am. Right, ma'am. So my next question to you is, what do we know about the recent surge in GBS cases in Pune, especially? Are there any particular factors contributing to this increase?
It was really a surprise to the hospitals in that area or draining the population from that area. So this is typically called as cluster. If large number of cases start coming suddenly from a particular area, it is called as cluster. So typically either they have a source, common source of infection, or there is a spread of infection from one to another in that particular area or population. So in this case, it was found that there was contaminated food source. I think typically there was some pani puri wala or roadside street food. From that stall, it started showing, and then in that whole area, it was found that people, even at households, were getting affected because of such infections. So these patients started presenting with weakness in the limbs or dragging of the foot. Gradually, as I told you, that it starts ascending, patients will start developing weakness of the diaphragm. Diaphragm is our major muscle of respiration when we are breathing. And respiratory muscles, if they start getting affected, then the respiration starts getting affected. So respiratory failure develops. And then these patients go into the severe category.
All right, ma'am. Okay, so like as you've already spoken about the symptoms and signs of the GBS, so like how do they progress actually? From where do they start and how progressive can they go?
99% or more than 99% of the times it develops peripherally. It is also called as glove and stocking type of presentation. So typically the areas which are covered by gloves and stockings, from that area you will start getting sensory or motor or combined symptoms depending upon the nerves which are getting affected. And then it starts progressing proximally towards the center. So initially your grip will start becoming weak, or your foot will drop your footwear, you will not be able to hold it properly. And then the tingling numbness in the peripheries you will start developing. Gradually knees or even right up to the thighs, the legs will start getting affected. Similarly the shoulder, you will not be able to raise your hands. And then sometimes there is like a facial paralysis, or eyes also get affected. Respiratory depression can be picked up when the patient is unable to speak one full sentence. If you ask the history, what happened, what is the problem, you know, doctor. So the voice or the air which has to be exhaled during exhalation to speak also starts getting affected, and they are unable to speak properly, unable to breathe. It's very shallow respiration. So that is the advanced symptom, as we can call it.
All right, ma'am. We got a very clearer picture. So my next question to you is, how is GBS typically diagnosed? Like what are the tests or procedures involved in that case?
So, clinical diagnosis or clinical suspicion is one of the most important things, because the clinician or the ER person, emergency person, or even the general practitioner or family practitioner should suspect that something serious or paralysis of the muscles is going on. There can be differential diagnosis for that, many other reasons also. But then, as soon as we get this, the patient should be referred to a bigger center like secondary or tertiary care hospital. Now, we have to check various metabolic parameters to see that there aren't any other causes to cause such type of paralysis. In these patients, typically their consciousness remains very good, so that indicates that the brain is not affected, but only the peripheral nerves are getting affected. And clinically we call them as reflexes, that if you tap, then your hand will start moving reflexly. So these reflexes disappear. And then to confirm the diagnosis, there is a particular test that is called as nerve conduction. So it is a test on OPD basis which can tell you how the electrical current is passed through the nerves, and whether it is being passed normally or it is getting hampered, and whether that is the cause of the weakness peripherally or the loss of sensation. So it can be sensory motor neuropathy and typically diagnosed on nerve conduction studies.
All right, ma'am. So my next question to you is, can you explain the role of immune system in GBS? How does it end up attacking one's own nerves?
So that is really an enigma, as we can say, that typically our nervous system will work to attack the invading bacterium or invading virus by producing certain antibodies. Now, in this, what happens? There is a concern about the manifestation of GBS occurring or spreading through food and water. Typically, as I mentioned, the bacterium called as Campylobacter jejuni is a culprit, but sometimes through respiratory infections also it can spread. It is crucial to take necessary measures in public health and public awareness that such a disease is occurring and is spreading. So, prevention, of course, is the best policy, and that is at the public health level. But at individual level, the mechanism is post infectious neuropathy, in which the peripheral nerves are getting wrongly attacked by our own immune system, by the antibodies which they have formed against the invading bacterium, have got some similarity to attack the ganglioside cells in our nerves, and that is why the nerve function starts getting affected. So 70% of GBS patients will give history of some kind of febrile illness or infection ranging between 1 to 6 weeks prior to manifestations. And then the damage is caused to peripheral nervous system. And that doesn't mean that every patient who has got that infection will have GBS. But there is again variation person to person. So these antibodies, if they contact against the gangliosides, they will affect the nerve conduction or the conduction of the electrical impulse through the nerves. So typically, something called as complement system, when the immune system gets activated, it acts through the activation of complements, and these complements are getting deposited or conjugated to the gangliosides to affect the nerve conduction. So this is the pathophysiology of it. Now, we do not have anything which can directly block it. There are new research going on which will produce what is called as monoclonal antibody, which will actually block these antibodies which are getting directed against our own nerves.
Okay, ma'am. All right. So, like you spoke about contaminated food and water. So, are there any other known triggers that can increase the risk of developing GBS?
Sometimes, in rare cases, it has been described in some kind of, post-surgical or post-vaccination. So, of course, one should not have unnecessary fear about vaccinations, but in some of the vaccinations, in less than 1% of population, patients can develop GBS because of underlying similar mechanisms. And when we get a vaccine, vaccine is a infective insult kind of, which will not produce full-blown infection, but it will trigger the immune system to produce the antibodies in the body, so that in future, if you have got, for example, flu, then you already have the antibodies. So if there is a misfiring between this also, then the vaccines can be a culprit to produce GBS. It has been described. But nowadays, the technology of vaccines also has improved, and they are also in more purer forms. So the chances are less, but there are, not completely negligible.
Right, ma'am. Right. So, my next question to you is what are the treatment options do we have currently for GBS patients?
These patients need to be hospitalized for close observation. There are no two doubts about it, no two thoughts about it. Why? Because we don't know how many patients will recover just with peripheral involvement, and in how many patients it can go towards the respiration. If the respiratory muscles are getting affected, then of course it can become a life-threatening situation. So what is important is, after admitting them, to monitor them closely is one of the most important things. So what do we do in monitoring? In monitoring, we keep them under observation, and every few hours we are checking how much is their muscle power and what is the level of weakness or the paralysis in these patients. And also we keep on checking the respiratory capacity of these patients. Suppose, simple test, you take a deep breath and start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the bedside. Suppose a patient can count, say 25 or 30 counts in single breath. That is taken as his basic capacity. And then every hour we keep on checking that. So if that is dropping, and if a patient starts counting only 1 to 10 in single breath, it tells us indirectly that the patient has lost the respiratory capacity. And this is a patient who is likely to develop secondary respiratory failure, or carbon dioxide may not get eliminated from the body and patient can start becoming drowsy. In such situations, sometimes we even have to go ahead and give artificial respiratory support transiently to these patients. So that is one aspect. Secondly, to stop the progression of the disease or try to reduce the damage to the nerves, what can we do? So when we checked just now the mechanism of pathophysiology of the disease, there are certain immune complexes that get formed, antibodies and complements getting stuck to the nerves, and these can be removed. The attempt is being made to make them inactivated or remove them. So there are two methods by which this can be done. One is by giving what is called as immunoglobulin from outside. We can give it to the patient through IV lines. So this is called as immunoglobulin therapy, which will combine with abnormal antibodies in the body and make them inactivated. Second possibility is, and this has to be done consecutively over 5 to 10 days. And the second possibility is something called as plasmapheresis. What does it mean? That these immune complexes which are formed and circulating in the body can be filtered out. So it is like dialysis, something like dialysis. A different filter is used for this dialysis. So the affected plasma with these abnormal immune complexes can be filtered out from the body, and then fresh plasma from the blood bank will be infused inside the patient. So this is called as plasmapheresis. So these two are the methods by which we try and treat these patients of GBS.
All right, ma'am. Okay. So my last question to you is, given the seriousness of GBS, what should people be aware of in terms of early warning signs and when to seek medical attention?
This is very important, as I mentioned to you, because GBS is a potentially reversible condition. 99.9% of patients will come back to normality, but it may take something like 3 to 4 weeks or even little longer also, because the rate of regeneration of nerves is very small, in the sense 1 mm per day. So that is why the recovery is very slow. So it is important that the patients keep a close watch on their own condition. If they have got some fever, febrile illness, and then after say 8 to 10 days or 2 3 weeks, if they have started noticing some kind of weakness in the muscles or tingling numbness in the peripheries, then they should immediately get themselves checked. They should report to the medical practitioner or a secondary or tertiary center. And that is how it can be picked up early and the intervention can be started early, so that it may not progress towards the affection of respiratory system. And second aspect is the public health aspect. Now you must have checked, the local government in Pune has started taking action. They have noticed that the certain source of water which probably is contaminated and is causing havoc in this particular area of Pune. So public health interventions, source of infection should be controlled in the society. All these are also equally important measures. So we all have to be very aware citizens, and at both these aspects, personal and public health aspects, we should be aware and start reducing the exposure to infective agent and reduce the incidence of GBS. And if a person has got affected, he should approach the medical organization or system very early, so that the complications can be prevented. There should be no deaths as far as possible from this reversible condition. The secondary infections which can form in the lungs should be prevented or should be picked up or treated very early. So these are the things one has to be careful about.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a very insightful and very informative session. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bhumika.
Never miss a medical update from Medical Dialogues. Like, subscribe, and press the bell icon.